Hey, deserving listeners, Brandan and Mary, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch and see what comes out of my face as I watch.
We got a huge fight because he's sitting next to a girl on the plane. He said he won't be sitting with girls or anyone, but girls sitting next to him, so I have the reason to get mad.
Okay, I'm really curious what she says here. If she says something like, sometimes I'm insecure, then that's a step in the right direction. It doesn't erase what she was doing because it was long-standing. It wasn't like she reacted and then later was like, oh, I'm sorry. It was seemingly over a number of moments without any check-in with herself in terms of whether it was fair to do so. So I'm curious as to where she's at seemingly later. And also we hear her say that he agreed that he wouldn't sit next to any girls. If he did promise that, that's not great for him to do that. And of course, that could increase her upsettedness. But can't imagine why he would say that, right? Because he knows, I'm sure, that you can't determine that. There's no way of knowing who's going to sit next to you on a plane, which is kind of interesting when you think about it, right? There's like no way to know until you're on the plane and then there that person is. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense that we would disclose that earlier.
I'm here at the hotel now.
Okay. In that moment, I'm just so mad at him. That's why I told Brandan that he shouldn't come here, but he got his hotel for layover in Manila.
Still upset at the fact that you...
So then you have to add the hypothesis that people often have on, for the cast members. I don't usually go here in my mind, but it is a possibility that she's not fully invested in her relationship with him, which would be strange given how triggered she is by the prospect of losing him and him cheating on her. But it's possible that she's fairly ambivalent and involved. So I don't think this is true, but I wonder if people think this, that she is on the fence regarding him, but she doesn't want to let on about that because she enjoys getting the money that he sends over. He has claimed he's sent all of his paychecks to her, which I find on this show to be a claim that a lot of people will make, and it'll turn out not to be verified by their partner, like with Chris and Jamie, that kind of thing. So I don't know, but I will throw it out there as a possibility. And then when there's a little bit of a problem, then she says, well, just go home, because she's already kind of ambivalent about the relationship. I don't think that's true.
Would get upset at me that I have to sit next to a girl on a plane. I was able to switch seats this time, but if there's no other available seats, you're just going to have to deal with it.
Well, don't talk to girl if you have...
I'm not talking to girls.
Well, I'm not there to see you.
I don't talk to girls because...
Okay, so I don't know why, but I was hoping that she would have come to her senses and realized that the way she was reacting was unfair. I didn't expect her to make a complete turnaround about this, but somehow I expected her to just mitigate it or lower it a little bit. But this is the first time they've talked, presumably, who knows, and he is saying, hey, yeah, I got sat next to a girl, a woman, and then let's rewind and see. Well, at least in the edit, the first thing she says is something like, well, don't talk to people. And he's like, well, I didn't talk to anybody. And what would it matter if he did? I mean, what if there was a minor conversation like, oh, I've read that book. Oh, it's a good book. He can't talk with other human beings in public. So she still holds to this attitude, which is really incredible, especially considering the fact that we just saw her previously, a day earlier or two, speaking with a bunch of boys about sex and stuff. She will say, well, that's fine because they're my friends. Yeah, absolutely. And if he sits next to a woman on the airplane and they have a small conversation about a book, that's also okay, right?
Because I have no reason to.
I know I overreact sometimes with Brandan, but I can't help it. It's very hard for me because my ex cheated on me 10 times and I forgive him 10 times.
Okay, so she says, I overreact sometimes. I don't know what she means by that, because On one hand, that could mean a very robust realization and self-awareness around her unfair reactivity. It could also just be something that she says or something that she means in a very minimal way. And, she followed it up with, I can't help it. So that can mean a lot of different things too. That can mean it's really hard for me to control, and I've tried, and I'm going to continue to try for his sake, but I have a hard time controlling it. That would be okay. But another version of it is, well, I can't control it, so you're just going to have to deal with it because that's just how I am. Abusive people will sometimes have that attitude, that they will at least give the, agree to the notion that, yes, it's true, I do lose my temper, but I have no control over it, so now it's on you to manage it. So deal with it. You know what I mean? This is how I am, and this is the way the world works, and you're just going to have to deal with it. So I don't know what she means by it. We haven't seen any behavior in the edit to suggest it's the former, meaning that it's the more healthy version. But I don't know. Let's see.
The least you can do is be like, okay, he's on his way. He's not going to cheat on me or leave me for some girl on a plane.
Now that Brandan loves me for real and he's almost living here in the Philippines, I'm more scared now to lose him.
Okay. Yeah, that makes some sense too. That it was already bad. That her jealousy and attachment reactivity was already bad. But now it's getting even worse because he's getting closer. I talked about that in a previous episode, essentially. Because the stakes are higher, the anxiety goes up. It's a transition as well. A lot of people with trauma have a hard time with transitions because transitions mean chaos, which means things being out of control and unpredictable, which means more chance of something horrible happening. And for a lot of people who experience trauma, they often would happen around transitions. For her, she had a huge trauma that was associated with a transition, being abandoned by her parents leaving and her being put in another home or something. That transition is a huge trauma, right? So anytime there's a transition for people, it was something that I observed when I was a family therapist working with children and teens, was I would hear this phrase of like, well, she has trouble with transitions, or watch out when he goes through a transition, that then you're going to see some behaviors, meaning when they're in a transition from mom's house to dad's house, or from school to home, or something like that. And then over time, I started to develop this theory as to why that would be, case-by-case basis. I also want to get back to something she said earlier, that she said in her previous boyfriend, he cheated a lot and 10 times, and she forgave him 10 times. I think she's saying that she was always nice about it and not hypervigilant. And she learned a lesson that, okay, I'm never going to let that happen again. Not only because it didn't work out, but also because I'm humiliated for myself. And so I'll be damned if I'm not going to really just hold the line next time. So maybe that's part of the fuel as well. But it doesn't justify the whole thing, of course.
I'm okay now. Just, if you love me, make sure you won't talk to girls on a flight. Tomorrow?
Trust me, I'm not going to talk to girls. I think I'm going to sleep now.
Okay. I'll see you soon. Behave.
I'll see you soon.
Behave. Yeah. Yeah. Now, maybe you know that he is some sort of cheater, and it all makes sense as to why she would be saying these things, but given what I've seen thus far, I just can't imagine saying goodbye to my wife while I'm out of town or something, and she's just like, yeah, behave, don't cheat on me. Yeah, well, there's nothing, I've worked with couples where they do have that kind of communication, but it's in a way that I've talked about before, which is, hey, remember that I have trauma about people cheating on me and abandoning me and betraying me. So while you're out of town, make sure you don't do anything, right? You're not going to do anything. It's my fault. It's not your fault that I have these feelings, but can you remind me that you're not going to cheat on me? There's nothing wrong with that, but the way that she approaches it is control, which is, of course, abusive. Okay, well, let's adjourn there. Everyone, please please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.